That's weird. Do I taste peanut butter?
Oh, you hit him!
Whatever.
Nonexisty? Nonexisty would have been such a great host, though.
Undead Nonexisty is pulling us down, do you?
41 plus 0 equals 41.
Nonexisty, Nonexisty, Nonexisty. This is a character that has been sometimes talked about by the fandom, either in a positive way or in a negative way. However, most people I've seen have said that this character is abysmal for the mere fact that it's supposed to be literal nothingness, so it shouldn't even be talked about. Well, I am here today to not only say that Nonexisty is a fun character to think about conceptually, but also to offer some theories and general fun stuff to think about for the character. I should probably say this now, but this analysis won't be as detailed and long as the ones I made for, like, Eggy and Pillow, since I do have less material to work with here. Plus there's nothing actually at stake here, since Nonexisty still has to compete in the show. Heh. Looks like this analysis won't result in anything bad happening in the future. But yeah, think of this analysis as a simple and fun discussion about Nonexisty. With all that said, let's get right to it. First of all, let's take a look at what Nonexisty is. According to the Cambridge Dictionary definition of it, non-existent is the complete absence of anything. Since Nonexisty's name and also his entire gimmick of non-existing are there, it's easy to assume that he is in fact non-existent. This did lead people to believe that Nonexisty does not exist, which then did start a whole argument about him and his votes being ignored whenever he was up for voting. Now, the purpose of this video isn't to explore whether or not ignoring Nonexisty's votes is a good thing or not, but I will say that in cases like BFB 1 and TPOT 1, if you were gonna ignore his votes in the first place, then why would you even put him in the voting? Because of course Nonexisty was gonna get a good amount of votes, especially in TPOT 1, but whatever, this is not the point of this video. The point is, because of how Nonexisty works, there's been debates about whether or not he should count as an actual contestant. But honestly, I think even with his gimmick of non-existing, he could very well be a fun contestant. Allow me to go in more details about it. So for Nonexisty's character, we can go through two main routes. Let's start with the more likely option, which is to 100% follow Nonexisty's gimmick of non-existing. I heard people say that there's zero ideas to be done with Nonexisty if he ever competed in a season, but I feel like there's at least a couple. For example, let's talk about a different character that was kinda like him, Box. Box's role in Inanimate Insanity before the finale has always been a very small one. Since Box was not alive, she didn't really do anything herself, but other characters did play off and have arguments with Box despite that. Both in Season 2, where characters like Sup and Suitcase genuinely believed Box was alive, and others like Trophy who were able to see that Box was never alive in the first place. But more importantly, in Season 3, where she had a pretty good role of being kind of mysterious and even having people like Nickel and Tea Cattle battle for her vote. Now, considering Box and Nonexisty are kind of alike, I'm pretty sure things like those could be done with Nonexisty as well. Have people like Cloudy and Bottle have conversation with him even though he apparently doesn't reply back. Have someone like Golf Ball be the trophy of BFDI, where she tries to oppose the mere thought of Nonexisty being a real person, with maybe Tennis Ball trying to think more logically about whether or not Nonexisty is actually non-existent. Kinda like in this animatic that I made. Let me show you.
We have a problem.
What?
Zero might not exist.
Of course, zero exists.
Great, then explain it to me.
Easy. Zero is nothing.
But how can nothing be a thing?
Think of it this way. Picture an empty box.
Alright.
What's in the box? Nothing.
It's not nothing. Air, atoms, molecules, that empty box is as full can be.
Regardless, zero is very important.
I'm not saying it isn't important, I'm just saying the little round guy ain't real.
You're being silly. Zero is a number like every other number.
Oh yeah? Can you divide with it?
Well, No.
In fact, the Greek philosopher Parmenides said nothing cannot exist because to speak of something is to speak of something that exists.
Well, I suppose you could look at it that way.
Dr. Sturgis, zero isn't real.
I feel dizzy.
Hell, you could even do random jokes with him, just like how they've been doing in the past before. Such as when Fiery blamed Nonexisty for their loss in BFB 6, or when Bell thought a zombified Nonexisty was on a string, things like that. I think that all of these ideas would have been a pretty cool way to implement Nonexisty into TPOT. If we wanna go even further, if you don't want Nonexisty to have anything at all, then here's another idea. How about we don't let him join in TPOT 1, but we add him in Teardrop's team in TPOT 2. Just have him in the same team as her, making those two a duo. And then with that, Nonexisty can just be used as a cannon fodder for Teardrop, so that way she'll make it to the second team phase. I did use Teardrop as an example, but I feel like Nonexisty could be used as a stepping stool with anyone. I mean, think about it. If he doesn't appear on screen, and this is vote to save, it'll be very hard for him to surpass any character, which would mean that everyone else would get an extra episode of screen time. Just imagine Clock surviving TPOT 7 because Nonexisty is part of the team, which would mean that the Winner and Clock storyline would continue without having to deal with Clock being eliminated. Examples like that make me feel like Nonexisty could also work as a way for other characters to get better in the show. So you can see that you can do a lot of things with Nonexisty if we follow his gimmick thoroughly. You can either make some funny jokes with him, have people play off and argue over him, or you can even just use him as a stepping stool for other characters to get further in the game. Now, of course, these aren't the best ideas ever, but again, you can't expect the best ideas from a character like Nonexisty. Or can you? Now, we just talked about what Nonexisty could have done if we follow this gimmick of being non-existent without much change. But there is something else that could be done with him, although this does go more in the crazy theory area. But I have seen hints and evidence, and I fully believe that Nonexisty might actually exist, or have existed in the past. Let me explain. Let's first go back to the definition of non-existent. Complete absence. This implies that whatever non-existent thing we're talking about, it should not have anything related to it. The problem comes with the fact that Nonexisty does not lack things about him. He in fact does have things related to him. An example could be his name, Nonexisty. Why does he have a name? That's already something. I think a better name for him could have been... That way, he wouldn't even have an actual name. What about the fact that he's male? Why does he have a gender? Wouldn't it make sense that it would be genderless?
Just to get past any confusion here, I'm a genderless child, not a giraffe.
Okay.
No genitals.
Thanks for sharing that.
Or what about the fact that he's sometimes represented with a shadow? That's not complete absence if you ask me. There's a shadow right there. Or what about the relationship Nonexisty has with other people? We saw people feel emotions about him, such as Fiery getting angry at him for assumingly making them lose in BFB 6, or 2 wanting to give Nonexisty some space. If he truly was non-existent, then why do people have feelings about him? Although these are admittedly small details, all things considered, since they're not really that important. But there is more solid evidence. As you can see from his wiki page, his species is peanut butter flavored nothing. Some of you might not know what peanut butter has to do with Nonexisty, so I'll show you. Check out this scene from BFDI 12.
Also, for every vote you got in any of the previous episodes, that's -1 point.
That's weird. Do I taste peanut butter? Okay, maybe not.
Kind of random, right? Fiery randomly bringing up peanut butter? Odd, right? Well, what if I told you this was actually Nonexisty's first ever moment in BFDI? In fact, he was recommended with this scene. There used to be a YouTube annotation that showed their recommender's username, Moragasm, who, fun fact, is the voice of Lollipop, Pie and Stapy. Kinda wild that someone from the Jack and Jellyfish crew created Nonexisty, but I digress. The important thing is, that was Nonexisty. Fiery tasted Nonexisty. That alone implies that Nonexisty has some kind of matter for Fiery to be tasting something, implying that Nonexisty is not a complete absence of anything. But that's not all. Not only does he have some sort of matter, but he even has a flavor. Peanut butter flavor. And for those that will say something like, well, I mean, doesn't Fiery say guess not immediately after? He must have imagined things. Well, in that case, let me give you proper confirmation that Nonexisty does have a peanut butter scent, to the very least.
The way that you know that Nonexisty is around is that you taste peanut butter, and that's like the way that you can sense that Nonexisty is in your presence. But honestly,
that is genius. I love that. That is so crazy.
Not to mention that Marker pukes after being close to Nonexisty, implying that Marker probably doesn't like peanut butter in the slightest. Another very interesting detail is that there's been two characters that have been able to properly locate Nonexisty, those being Ruby and 2. Ruby told the announcer that he missed Nonexisty with the flinger in BFB 18.
Nonexisty also got 11 votes.
Oh, you missed him!
Whatever.
While 2 asked Winner and Tagging to make some room for Nonexisty.
There are 3 of you left! Only one of you will be joining the game!
Huh? 3 of them, but I only see 2.
I'm flattered you find me so attention-grabbing, Nickel. But the final 3 is over there!
But...
Hang on, Winner and Taggy, can you make some room for Nonexisty? There. Now he's bigger.
What?
Both instances implying that there's some kind of form for Nonexisty. And last but not least, I want you to check out this scene from BFB 16. That's right, that right there is Existy. As you all can see, Existy is in fact a lifeless peanut butter jar. Not only does this connect Existy to their non-existent self, but it also confirms that Fiery did actually taste peanut butter that day, which means Nonexisty might not actually be non-existent. Now, with everything that we've talked about so far, there might be the chance that Nonexisty either is or was existent at one point. But what could have happened to him? Well, I do have a theory on what could have happened to Nonexisty, so allow me to go further in details. I have this theory that makes me believe that Nonexisty might have been a visible character in the past. Why do I say that? Well, let's check out the prize wheel from BFB 17, shall we?
Okay, wow. I really did not think I would ever spin this, but cool!
You must choose between immunity to the final 6 or the removal of another contestant.
Immunity! I choose that one!
Oh, boring.
I'm safe.
Why don't I just replay the tape?
Stop there!
That right there is our key to this theory. What if, sometime before Nonexisty's first appearance, was actually visible? He could have been a peanut butter jar character, just walking around and even doing things. But then for whatever reason, he was hit with that removal of another contestant's existence, which made him become Nonexisty. And since it does say contestant and not person, it could very well be that Nonexisty might have participated in a competition show before, but then was sadly hit with that penalty, leaving him to be non-existent forever. Or, if you don't want that to be connected to a competition show, it could have been that someone was able to create a gun that erases someone's existence from this world, since it can apparently be a thing thanks to that prize wheel. Either way, Nonexisty might have once been a playful peanut butter jar, but for whatever reason was hit with that penalty, losing his existence for the rest of his life. Now, you might think this never actually happened, and you're probably right, I doubt they ever tried to think this hard with Nonexisty. But something like this has actually happened before. Check out this scene from BFB 21.
So when I ordered a boy ball transformer from Yellowface all those years ago, this must have been where it came from!
We see that Bubble ordered a bubble transformer many years ago, implying that she wanted to be a bubble, and therefore became like that thanks to Yellowface's bubble transformer. Which does imply that Bubble used to be something other than a bubble. Now the question is, why would anyone in their right mind transform themselves into a bubble, quite possibly one of the weakest objects ever? But I digress. Hell, we could even talk about Golf Ball in IDFB 1, when in her flashback she used to have no dimples. Of course, we still don't know what that was about, so we'll have to wait before we find out anything about Golf Ball's backstory, but I do think it was important to point out. My point is, Even though this theory is pretty crazy to BFDI standards, it's also not too far off, since we've seen something similar with Bubble and possibly Golf Ball as well, although not to the same level. Hell, with TPOT 19 we can actually explore this idea further, since one was able to erase Gaty, Barf Bag, and Basketball's existences in the world. So what if in some kind of way, those three in another world would find another person whose existence was also erased? So with everything that I said so far, Nonexisty could go in two main directions moving forward. Nonexisty could either remain the non-existent joke that he is nowadays, with just some random mentions and jokes from other people from time to time, or Nonexisty could actually have a crazy backstory that will be pretty interesting to see. I said before that Nonexisty and Box are pretty similar in a lot of ways, both being joke characters that people never really took seriously and just found them funny. However, Box was later revealed to actually be a real person from before the show started. So, hear me out here. What if Nonexisty was the Box of BFDI? What if Nonexisty also made that jump from being a joke character to an actual complex character with crazy lore? It honestly would be awesome to see Nonexisty go back to his peanut butter form in the future. It would be crazy to see something like this in the show, although I think it's probably never gonna happen, since this is not the direction the crew wants for Nonexisty. Perhaps in another life. Now that we're done with the non-existing theories in discussion, there is one last thing I wanna point out. Whenever I see Nonexisty being talked about, it's for the most part negatively, with people being tired of Nonexisty fans trying to argue that it was robbed in votes like TPOT 1, and to an extent, I do get that, genuinely. If you're gonna talk about Nonexisty just to say it was robbed from competing, then yeah, that is kind of a negative approach. But I also believe that Nonexisty should be talked about in general without people frowning about it, especially since I've seen people ramble about Nonexisty and what it could potentially be, only for people to be annoyed at the mere fact that people were having fun for thinking about the character. If you're gonna bring up Nonexisty just to complain, then yeah, I do think it is annoying. Even though Nonexisty fans have the right to complain about their votes being wasted, I don't think sticking to the past just to complain is a good idea. And I'm saying that as a Nonexisty voter for TPOT, I was part of one of those votes that got wasted. It may have sucked, but we gotta move on. However, if you're gonna bring up Nonexisty to think about theories and general discussion about the character, then I don't think people should be annoyed at that. They're not really doing anything bad, they're just having fun thinking about scenarios with Nonexisty, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And for those who will say something like, oh, it doesn't exist, there's nothing to talk about, then I'm gonna ask you this. What about Fiery Jr.? He's just fiery but small, why should we talk about him? Or what about Robot Flower? She's just Flower but as a robot, why talk about her? But that's the thing, they're not just that. Fiery Jr. is a hothead character, very much different from Fiery, and Robot Flower had a whole storyline about feeling confined and be overshadowed by Flower herself. I believe the same applies to Nonexisty as well. Just because his name is Nonexisty, that doesn't mean that's all he is. And I mean, this video proved it, as there was a lot to talk about a character that supposedly does not exist, right? But that's just my 2 cents on the topic. Let's go to the conclusion of the video. Nonexisty as a whole is a very mysterious character. The whole concept of him is already mind-boggling, to the point where people like me have started theorizing that there might be more to him than what we see. It's true that it might not be the case, but I personally don't see the problem in exploring possibilities to make Nonexisty and the show overall better. And if people are gonna complain about me choosing to make a whole analysis video on Nonexisty over any other BFDI character, then so be it. I had lots of fun making this video, and that, at the end of the day, is what truly matters. I will always be a true non-exister. Wait, I didn't say everything about Nonexisty yet. What about the fact that I had a comedy stand? How can he have that if it doesn't exist? Or what about Nonexisty's sister? How can he have a sister if it doesn't exist? Or what about Fiery and Nonexisty Yaoi? People need to know!
You told me that we should go a separate way, so now you go there, but I go straight to this way. Turn back the clock, break through the air, reset my everything. Yeah, it's true, I wanna know what I wanna do, so I do that before the light fades away. Oh, never give up, 'cause I wanna know where is the next place. I just wanna live my life. The days repeat and react, the memory is real.